Hi, hello, another video. I'm going to try and talk a bit more softly. Um, I'm also going to say that I have bought a new microphone, so anyone in the comments who mentions a microphone again, there was one last video that I found really, really funny, and it just pushed me to actually go buy another one. Sorry, even though when I laugh on the mic, it probably sounds horrible. So that will be arriving today, later today or tomorrow, and you'll from then on you're going to get way better audio quality. And also. Set 8 launches on Friday, and I think most testing groups have done their preemptive testing and got their lists ready to test them in the wider space. I've kind of had the idea of doing a video on my like favorite cards, and I can talk through why I find them my favorite cards. Just because maybe that might be interesting, and it's just something to do between now and when the set launches. But also, I've also wanted to talk about a few of these cards for a long time. I didn't really know when to do it. So right now, I mean, of course, the reason why I play Kiwi is it includes just tons of cards that I find fun. Alice, like Savvy Sailor as a card, like I really enjoy it. I really enjoy Ward in this game. I think it's really, really powerful. And of course, things like Cogsworth, I've always loved that card since set 3 when I started playing Sapphire Steel. I think the Robin Hood shift line's really fun. I think Robin Hood's a really cool card. Strength of Rage and Fire is kind of fun. Pluto's really cool. Mr. Smee, I just love Mr. Smee. I think it's the best 2 drop in the game. I don't want to play a deck that doesn't have Mr. Smee in it at this point. But the reason why I play it is the sum of all its pieces, but there are a few pieces that I really enjoy more than others when I play this deck. And the reason why I stick with this deck and I don't swap to any other deck, that I don't just meta chase and go to the Ruby Amethyst Shark deck that's really popular right now or something. And no offense to anyone who does, of course, but I really enjoy this deck and a lot of these cards. So there's 3 cards in here, and I haven't mentioned them yet, that I think are my favorite cards in the game, and it looks like they survive rotation. I checked their set numbers just before I started recording, and that's made me quite happy. And we'll start with sort of one of the easier ones. It's just Doc. Um, it really just enables these aggro decks that don't need to really focus on card draw as much to continue their aggressive game plan. And I think what's great is I've played like quite a few TCGs, and the difference between Lorcana is by turn 1, if you were to income play, you lose 2 cards in hand. Whereas the majority of games, like I play an aggressive deck in One Piece, you play a card on one, and you've just played a card on one, and that's it. You don't lose 2 cards in hand. You do play with a smaller hand size, but you don't hit the hand as much. And then by turn 2, you ink and you play another thing. And if you were to dare play 2 things, down 3 cards, Doc just gives you that little bit of card draw to sort of negate the fact that you have to lose 2 cards a turn, like minimum 2 cards a turn, because it gives you that extra bit of card draw. And if you find another Doc, you can chain them. And I just really love that. It sort of enabled, like, of course, the Ambassador Diggy Hole deck. I think it really enables Kiwi to be what Kiwi is as well. And I think like purple still as well took a lot of advantage of this card, and it just like enabled aggressive decks. I think a lot more than say like Amber Amethyst did when they were trying to be aggressive decks back in set 2. And I think Dogs as well does a really good job. Of course, they don't have access to Dock, and they have ways to draw cards and flood the board in their own fashion. But you just Dock as a card, I think, is just enabling so many more of these aggressive decks, which is great because at the height of like when like Diggy Hole was around, like Ruby Sapphire was at its like peak. Well, it was almost its peak before the set 7 ban. So it just came in and it sort of said like, hey, like Diggy Hole was doing as well as Ruby Sapphire was, or sort of on the same wave, like maybe not as well, but it just enables us to play these like really aggressive decks, and I really like that. And I think that's why the new Desperate Plan card, when it comes out, it's just gonna further extend our ability. I just love the Enchanted. I really want to place it at them. It just extends our ability to play these dock style games where we are just throwing stuff on board, play Desperate Plan, draw a bunch of cards, or play dock and draw some cards and just extend that. Because with aggressive decks, like I've played a lot in TCGs, you don't need insane card draw. You don't need to have an unbeatable card. You don't need to have rabbit bounce rabbit sing play rabbit play sing friends bounce rabbit. You don't need any of that. You would just need to draw 1 or 2 cards. You need some cards to be a bit like replacing themselves, like we've got Robin Hood in this deck, and you can just get over the finish line that way. So yeah, I think Doc's just enabled so much more in this game, and all it is just draw 2 cards when you play it, but Quizzy costs 2, and you're probably going to dump your entire hand or build your deck around the ability to dump your entire hand before you play it. I think it's great, and as much as of course most saw that when this channel started, it was the Sapphire Steel ramp deck, and I've always basically just been a fan of aggressive decks. I just really love playing aggressively and playing aggro. I like playing proactively. So when we started having the whole and like the option to play Kiwi came in, I was so excited and happy for that. And even back then when I was playing Sapphire Steel Ramp, of course we didn't play Dock in that deck, but just to know that like I always like the aggressive, being the proactive player in that deck where you could just be the beatdown and you could just be like slamming things in the inkwell, wheeling, throwing stuff on the board, constantly making them having to react to it. And you could be this aggressive sort of ramp deck. So I've just basically won for always playing proactive decks. I just prefer to do it. If you never know what to do versus your opponent, you just be proactive and do what you want to do and to win the game. And yeah, I think Doc just enabled so many different decks to thrive. And for a while there, yeah, there was three major decks playing it. There was Kiwi, Amber Steel, and Purple Steel, and the card is still around, and it's still good. Even Green Steel every so often just throws it in there just to get that extra one or two card draw. I believe Luke had one, I think, in his Seattle list. I'm not sure. But yeah, I just think it's a really awesome card, and I think I'm probably going to skip on to the next one because I realized that I could probably just talk about the joy of my three favorite cards for as long as possible. So yeah, I probably best to move on to the next one. And the next one's Pete. Of course, I doubt that won't be a lot of people's favorites. It's just great disruption. There's loads of niche moments. I think it's fairly um interesting as well. Like when you play it, I think there's a lot of skill to which turn you play it on. Its ability to be used on the play and on the draw actually feels quite differently because um, if you're on the play versus Amber Steel, say, and you're going to be able to your three drop first. That means that they are going to have to aerial first, and then you play Pete on four. And I just like those little interactions with it. And again, it just gave these aggressive decks like the Amethyst Steel, the Amber Steel, and Kiwi as well this ability to sort of fight with these later game decks that just want to build and slam like big Tamatoas and be prepared and stuff like that on the board. And Pete allows you to not beat those things, but allows you to actually fight into them and that's what I really like because I don't think the most aggressive decks, what they do is they don't like aggro decks. They don't really need to, beat the big Tamatel or beat the Be Prepared or beat the whatever, the Maui Shark. They just need to stall it and give themselves a turn or two. And Pete allowing you to stop a pirate's life or a Maui Shark doing whatever it needs to do on that turn, to stop a Be Prepared to give you one more turn. Just all those little like niche things that Pete can do is amazing. Stopping Ursula singing double sudden chill or double at the storm or double strength to give you another turn to um, set something else up on board, maybe set up a ward character or maybe just continuously Pete lock people as well, which I love doing. Like I've beat so many yellow greens just by getting like three Pete's in hand, like just being lucky enough to, or even two Pete's will do fine. Full questing, playing Pete, full questing. You top deck like a strength of the Raging Fire or something, and you sing it on one of their things because they've just been ink passing or just passing every turn. Um, and yeah, I just really love the card. And also I don't think I ever want in Lorcana there to be interruptions in the game. And of course, I've played Pokemon, Hearthstone, and I play One Piece. One Piece does have a sort of effect where you can do things on your opponent's turn, which is kind of cool. But I never want it to be that heavy on it. I've seen a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic the Gathering games where, it's heavy on just hoping they don't play a counter spell card or what. I don't know it too well. Or I think in Yu-Gi-Oh! They're called hand traps. Like, I just don't want to see that. That's not what I want to see in Lorcana. I like things like this. They work in the same vein as like maybe a trap card in Yu-Gi-Oh would, or Secrets did in Hearthstone, where you can. And there was cards in Pokemon as well that did this. You can interact with your opponent's turn, but you have to set up something in your turn. So you have to play the Pete, which is really good, and then yeah, that you will be interrupting your opponent's turn, but of course you're not doing anything on their opponent's turn. You've just stalled them from using actions. Um, I really love that. I know a lot of people probably dislike Pete. Probably a lot of yellow green discard players. Probably a lot of Ruby Amethyst players really dislike the card Pete. But he has just become a steel staple. And I was talking about this the other day with like, um, it's funny that they put Pete as this card because they very clearly want to do theme decks going on into the future. They want to do races with Ruby and Amber. They want to do like puppies, and then they want to do like Lady and the Tramp. But Pete is generally from like I think he's like in the Goofy movie or something like that. So like he doesn't fit into any theme, but he has to be basically a staple in every steel deck because he's so powerful. Um, and it's so much so that Ali was making a princess deck, based on I think Enchanted Kim's princess deck. And it's like great, but it's like I think we just need to put some Pete's in there to the point where we had the idea that we'd graffiti a Pete to make it look like a princess, put a wig and nice dress on and stuff like that. Because the cards are such a strong staple. Also, Inkable 3 cost, 3/3. Quest for one. It's also just a fairly decent body on the board. Sometimes I've had games where, especially with Kiwi, you play Smee, you compete, then you can play Pete, then you play Cogsworth, and your board is three characters that are 3/3 or resist one, and you've got your Cogsworth down as well. So he's just insanely powerful. You could. I just really love the card, and again, I think I'm at this point where I'm just gonna waffle on, talking about how good Pete is and how much I like Pete. I'm pretty sure like Pete is just a staple. Everyone knows this card, and I'm sure there are many that like it. So I'm probably going to move on, and I've probably said everything I can about the card because I've got one last card, which is not it's not Alice, it's another steel card, and I think it is my favorite card in the game, um, just because I don't know, I don't think it's not played that often. It's kind of niche, but it's the kind of card that I'd like to see them go a bit further with doing things like this. And it's a few other little interactions with it that make it so good. And it is the John Silver Ship's Cook, which again, yeah, is not like some legendary. It's a common card. It's not a legendary. It's nothing amazing. But how often this will win me a game, just the nuances of it as well of like you could play John Silver on a character that you know is going to get crab buffed by a Merlin crab or something, sorry. It's also a captain, so it can stop that Smee damage. And you can stop a Maui shark and that give you enough turn to full quest. Just the little quirks that you can do with this, like they play like even when I've seen like big Tinkerbells, you can stop a big Tinkerbell and that'll be enough for you to just full quest and go for game. I don't know, I just adore this card, and I know many don't particularly love it. It's if you're already, especially in Kiwi, if you're already putting Pete in your deck, which is again 3/3, outstanding card, quest for one. It does only quest for one, and then John Silver is pretty much all the exact same stats, but his is stopping something from challenging during that turn. But for me personally, I think because maybe Kiwi isn't as fast as Amber Steel, but even in Amber Steel Diggy Hole, I'd play this card because I just really like it. It's just the ability to stop something being challenging for the next turn, and it goes into that same game design that I really like for aggressive decks in Lorcana, where if they're going to play their Maui Shark, if they're going to play their whatever big boss mode character, you if you're the aggressive deck, you shouldn't have cards in your deck that say I can just defeat that card or I can beat it. You should have cards that say I can stall a turn, I can, get some breathing room, I can continue playing the game. I don't just lose because you played a Maui Shark. And I think the cards like Pete, John Silver, and Doc being a sort of draw engine in that whole aspect, bring these three cards together, and I just really love playing them. I think in set 8, if I'm not playing Kiwi, I will be an aggressive Amber Steel with these three cards still in it because they just bring this really fun, aggressive game to the table. And with the way Lorcana's done with its dual ink system, I think playing a pure aggression deck has been quite a struggle. I think Chernodog's the only one that's really done it very efficiently, and even still, then it still has some very harsh matchups. And all it's really doing is shoving 4 health bodies into the deck so they don't get removed by the steel removal, and then they should be winning the red matchups just through their flooding and pure aggression. But at the time when I fell in love with these three cards, and even still now, Doc, John Silver, and Pete sort of allowed us to keep playing these aggressive decks like Amber Steel, Amethyst Steel, and Kiwi. So I just love all three of these cards. And I say this as well. Someone messaged me to say like, well, I don't know how like when to use John Silver or what's the point of John Silver, and completely understand that the card does not read great half the time. But it's just you can even get those turn threes where they're going to trade into you and you play John Silver down to stop it. You quest of your Smee or whatever and quest of your one drop, and then you sing strength from the John Silver the next turn and you full quest and you've managed to keep that thing alive for like 3 turns. Like if you get the Smee questing, as I said in this interaction, John Silver stop, then sing strength, then Smee can quest again, and he's not taking that one damage as well. He's just an immense and powerful card, I think. And then later on in the game, you could keep them in hand, knowing that they're setting like the Ruby Sapphire deck perhaps is setting up to just wipe your board with a and do a lot of damage with a Maui Shark. They go all in on playing the Maui Shark, and you just play John Silver on it and keep questing. And then if you could get 6 ink, even you could do John Silver and Pete and just keep questing because they can't have that backup plan of playing Be Prepared. And then even still, yeah, it's you can do another. I'm just trying to think of interesting lines. If you Alice and ward up a Pluto, and they have a cheap 1 drop or 2 drop, they're going to run into the Pluto. Then they're going to play a Maui against a red deck. You could John Silver play it on the little 1 drop, forcing them to Maui hit the Pluto and be removed 1 for 1. And then yeah, all these niche moments like versus Big Tinkerbell. Just anything that's going to basically make trades really bad. It's really just more ways to protect your Pluto sometimes. It's just I love the card. Outstanding. I've even had games where it's just protecting a mana, or protecting a Gantu, if they've got something on board and they're going to Elsa Exert, you could put it on the one little thing and then the Elsa. There's just loads of little like nuanced niche moments where I found this card to be unstoppable and amazing. So yeah, it's a card I want to keep playing. Um, I think with the power level of cards that we're getting, I don't see it getting pushed out of my lists. Hopefully, no time soon. But I think it thrives a lot more in a amethyst based, maybe even ruby sort of based meta. In a rush based meta, it benefits quite a lot. I think if Emerald Steel and Amber Steel became the two dominant colors, like those two don't really challenge much. They're more about just throwing removal at each other, and that would be the only time if those two became so dominant that you were expecting 2/3 of your matchups to be them. He probably wouldn't be that great there. And in the mirror, he can sometimes not be that useful because of having ward and everything like that. But overall, I just find the card amazing. He's like my little niche favorite card in the game, I think. On top of that, of course, I have sort of John Silver's like my favorite card to play. On top of that, of course, I've got cards like Alice and the Aerial Treasure Collector that I've just always loved as well. Just sort of I have really good fond memories of them. Really good fond memories on the channel and also playing and testing with people. But overall, like the card that always excites me the most is John Silver's Ship's Cook. I just really love the card, and I just think I'm trying to think of more ways to explain why it's awesome. But again, I'm just going to be like the other two cards and just keep talking about it. I noticed I haven't done too long. We're only going up to 20 minutes, but I didn't want to keep blabbering on about my favorite cards and why they're awesome. But yeah, I think John Silver. Probably able to rate them in order. John Silver first, Pete second, and Doc last. Only Doc last because we're getting cards like Desperate Plan now. We're getting quite a few other interactions and cards, that give it life. And as I say, this is set 6, set 5, and set 5. So hopefully they're all surviving rotation and we can continue playing decks like this. So yeah, I feel like I'm just blabbering on about cards that I really love. But John Silver, any questions, any reasons? If you want to write in the comments why you think it's not a good card, please do tell me because I do get quite a lot of people saying it's not the best card, and that's completely understandable. But yeah, those are my 3 favorite cards. And also, you tell me your 3 favorites or like any favorite cards you've got. It's always nice to hear. Like I like the best one I always know is Justin's favorite is Sisu Water Dragon, which is the legendary blue one. And I think every set I've watched them try and work that into a list until it gets broad and he doesn't want to play it anymore. But yeah, thank you very much for watching.